Hello, pre-algebra class. So today we're going to be working on PEMDAS. PEMDAS is also known as order of operations. And when we're doing PEMDAS, need to remember that P stands for parentheses. So the P is going to stand for parentheses. The E is going to stand for exponent, so something raised to an exponent. The M and the D stand for both multiplication and division, and the A and the S stand for addition and subtraction. So one thing we need to make sure is that when you're doing the M and the D, it's not always multiplication first and then division second. It's multiplication and division at the same time in the order that they occur. So when I write the word PEMDAS, I like to write the MD side by side and the AS side by side, because the multiplication and division occur at the same time as you're reading from left to right, and the addition and the subtraction occur at the same time as you read from left to right. So that's PEMDAS. And one thing about PEMDAS that I want to point out is the E for exponents. So just kind of a quick little lesson on exponents. We want to talk about what that means. So for example, if we have 5 raised to the second power right here. If we have the 5, which is the base number, and the 2, which is the little exponent up top, that little 2 up top means repeated multiplication 2 times. So what that means is we're going to take the 5 and multiply it by itself so that we have 2 of the 5s. This 5, the base, is the number we're multiplying. That little 2 up top, that's how many times we're going to multiply it. Also want to point out that notice for multiplication, I use the little dot here instead of the X for a multiplication symbol. That's because as we get into algebra, X has a different meaning. So right here, the 5 times 5 is going to equal 25. So 5 to the second power equals 25. One more is if you have 2 raised to the 4th power, what that means is 2 times 2 times 2 times 2, so that we're multiplying 2 times itself 4 different times. So 2 times 2 is 4, times 2 again is 8, times 2 again is 16. So 2 to the 4th power is 16, and that's a quick lesson on what exponents mean. So when we're having an expression that has parentheses and it has exponents and adding, subtracting, multiplying, and dividing, we're going to find those parentheses, and those parentheses means do everything in that group first. Then the exponent is what we do second. We do everything with an exponent second. And then we do multiplication and division all through the problem at the same time from left to right, and then addition and subtraction all through the problem at the same time from left to right. So now let's move to an example. So here's an example. There is no P, there is no parentheses. So the next thing we move to is E for exponents. There is no exponents. So the next thing we move to is MD. Multiplication and division. So we look over here, there's -3 minus a -3 divided. Okay, we've come across the multiplication and division, this division right here. So this 3 divided by this 3, what does that end up being? 3 divided by 3 ends up being 1. So we have -3 minus -1. Well, minus a negative, remember from the last lesson, minus minus right next to each other becomes a positive. So we have -3 plus 1. And if we have a -3 and a positive 1, if you're taking away 3 but you're adding 1, they're going in the opposite directions because taking away goes down, adding goes up. So they're going in opposite direction of each other. But the taking away 3 or the -3 has more weight than the positive 1. If you're getting $1 but you're having to pay somebody else $3, that debt of -$3 is heavier than the gaining of $1. So if you have $1 and you're having to take away 3, if you take away 1, you get 0. You take away the next 2 and you end up with -2, or you're in the whole 2. So that's where you got to put the -2 in there. And you click submit, and that's how you do that. So now it's your turn to practice.